Hi, and welcome to ICYMI Gaming News, where I talk about stuff that happened last week in gaming news. So let's go ahead and we'll start talking about it. I'm going to begin by talking about Gamescom, which they had some cool stuff shown at Gamescom. I think, in all honesty, I'm kind of under the understanding now that it's more of a fan thing than it is any sort of like E3 type event where they make big announcements. In this case, I really didn't hear of anything besides Age of Empires 4, which is a big deal. A sequel to the series that has really been on the back burner at Microsoft for a long time. It looks really neat, but then again, it's only a cinematic trailer that they've shown. We have no details on what it actually will be about, and in all honesty, it probably is going to be a lot like the other ones. The cool thing is that Microsoft is going back and they're developing more remastered versions of Age of Empires. They've already worked on, and I think they're releasing soon, Age of Empires 1 as a definitive edition. And the improvements are pretty insane, I'll be honest. Similar in scope to StarCraft Remastered. Though I don't know many of the details on it, I'll have to look into that for you. They're also working on Age of Empires 2 Remastered or Definitive Edition and the Definitive Edition of Age of Empires 3. So, if you like real-time strategy, there's something for you. Now, since Xbox was a disappointment at Gamescom and really didn't make any big announcements, let's go ahead and talk about PlayStation, because PlayStation and Guerrilla Games actually made a change to a game that I really love, Horizon Zero Dawn, and frankly, I'm open to the idea of what they're doing. It's a narrative difficulty mode for people who want to play Horizon Zero Dawn and don't want to die constantly. Now, personally, I prefer playing games on a normal difficulty, but I do know that there are people out there that just want to play through a story. And I've done that before, especially with Mass Effect, playing through second, third time, where I just want to experience the story again. I don't want to have to die constantly. Something like that may be of interest to me. I do want to play through Horizon Zero Dawn at a higher difficulty level to unlock the face paints and stuff. But to be perfectly honest, I really like any sort of thing that a game developer does that makes it more accessible to another audience, whether it's accessibility options like in The Long Dark and Uncharted 4, or it's a lower difficulty mode. I know that there are people out there, and you may be one of them, who are what I would call difficulty enthusiasts, people who enjoy games that are difficult because they're difficult. And if you have a problem with an easier difficulty mode in a game, remember that it's an option and you don't have to actually use it. That's the key right there. Now, if you're playing a game like Mario where you have an invincibility option, or even the chicken hat thing in, Metal Gear Solid 5, if you're not using it, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't take away from your experience to have it more accessible to someone who isn't as good as you. So enjoy being good at a game, but just get over it. Now, speaking of, I mentioned Mario, but let's talk about Nintendo, because Nintendo just had a recent release this week, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, I think is what it's called. And we're not talking about the release. I have heard good things, but of course, since Ubisoft made the game, it'll have a season pass. It'll be $20. It'll come with weapons, a set of challenge maps for solo play and multiplayer co-op, and then they'll also have a story expansion at some point. I'm kind of falling into the camp of people who think that season passes are a waste of money. And I mean, I can't even say I'm surprised that Ubisoft is going this route, because they do that with every game. I mean, honestly, I'm more surprised that Ubisoft doesn't have 7 different special editions of this game. But that might be because Nintendo doesn't want to do that to their games. So I mean, if you are just one of those people who just has to have everything that a game can possibly have, even if you aren't even sure if the game is gonna have worthwhile DLC, I guess $20 is all you'd have to spend to make sure that you get everything. I will warn you that in the past, Ubisoft doesn't really do much with their DLC that's worth the expansions. So do what you will. I think it's a waste of money. Speaking of waste of money, or I guess not waste of money, a free game, World of Tanks, is getting a story expansion, which is different. It's an online multiplayer game where you play as tanks and go around and blow each other up. And to have story in it finally actually makes me kind of want to check it out. So I installed it on my Xbox. I'll have to check on it later. I might review it, though don't hold me to it, because you know how that works with me. If I say I'm going to do something, it never happens. So it's free. It's a free expansion of the game. You can spend real money on it, so don't worry about it. If you like spending money on microtransactions, you have the options. And for those of you out there that have been watching for Half-Life 3 news, you are in luck, because last week, Mark Laidlaw, one of the writers for, I think, Half-Life 2 and sort of part of Half-Life 1, he announced something on his blog talking about the story that he had sort of put together for Half-Life 2 Episode 3 or Half-Life 3, depending on what you want to call it. And I mean, I read it. It's hard to make sense of because it's been 5 or 6 years since I played Half-Life 2. Honestly, to me, it's a nail in the coffin that this whole Half-Life 3 business needed. It needed to die. Half-Life 3 is not happening. You can quote me on it, and if I'm wrong, you can sure as hell correct me, and I will make a video saying I was wrong, but it's not happening. I mean, they've already, like, him posting this to me is a nail in the coffin. It's the headstone on the grave. Like, it's just, this is Half-Life 3 officially dead. I don't think anyone seriously is bummed out by it, because I think everyone's pretty much resigned to the notion that Half-Life 3 is not going to happen. I'm kind of sad, but at the same time, I've been waiting like 12 years or something for a sequel, so whatever. Now, to move away from gaming news to blogging news, I have something I want to point out, and that is Amba Gaming Corner, which is a site that I frequent, and something that Athena runs. That's her namesake, I guess. I won't say her real name because I don't want to, I don't do that. She runs a blog where she talks about a lot of psychology in gaming and things like that. And also, she talks about some more lighthearted stuff like Dragon Age Inquisition and things like that. So if you are interested, check out her blog. Her link is in the description. And the news that I wanted to mention is that she is celebrating a 1-year anniversary of her blog having started. So, big news. I think I celebrated 1 year of Falcon Game Reviews this past February, but I'm really bad with birthdays, so I don't know. It's worth celebrating. It's a big deal when you go an entire year actually creating something, and I just wanted to point it out. Please visit, go to her site, leave a congratulations and stuff like that. She also has a YouTube channel, which I may link, actually. 1 year. Happy birthday, Amba Gaming Corner. And with that, I don't really have anything else to talk about. There's some stuff that happened this week so far that I'm going to talk about next week. But, we'll see what happens. At any rate, thank you for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, let me know something that I can do or something you want to see. And if I missed anything, be sure to let me know, because I will do nothing with that information. Thanks for watching. In case you're wondering, the video hasn't ended yet. And that's because Hungry Gorilla, she's another gaming blogger. She does a lot of retro games and stuff like that. And she collects them. And the reason why I haven't ended the video is because she wanted to see some of the Super Nintendo games that I have. And they were on the shelf back here, actually, right about there. Now, I moved them because I want to show them to you guys because she asked me to. Because I'm cool like that. And we'll start with the one that is actually out front, and that is F-Zero. Let's see if I can do this without covering up the name. F-Zero, a racing game. It's actually, I think, where Captain Falcon comes from. And so you know, I didn't name Falcon Game Reviews after Captain Falcon. That was a completely different thing. I may talk about it at a later date. But yeah, F-Zero, great racing game for the Super Nintendo. They made a sequel, I think, for the 64, and I really liked that version. Yeah, F-Zero. Yeah, it's cool. You should play it. This one in particular, I really enjoyed. It's the sad news is that Konami made it so you can guarantee that it's a dead franchise, but Zombies Ate My Neighbors. It's a very lighthearted game. I mean, it's got all kinds of mythical monsters and stuff like that in it, like mummies and aliens. And are aliens mythical? I guess we'll find out in the next 100 years or so, right? But anyways, so zombies, you know, you have to rescue survivors and stuff like that. And you can play actually 2 players, which is kind of cool. So we used to play this a lot as a kid. It also had Game Shark cheats, so it means that I actually had a chance to beat the game. Moving on to games that are a little more in the mainstream. Not that F-Zero wasn't, but still. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which is, in my opinion, it is the best Legend of Zelda game. To those of you that think that Breath of the Wild or Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask is, you're wrong, so suck it. This is the best Zelda game, plain and simple. I played Ocarina of Time, and I really enjoyed it. Throwing chickens around is a lot of fun. And I played Breath of the Wild, and while I did enjoy my time with it, and I thought it was really fun, it really didn't live up to the hype around it, which is exactly what I feared. But we'll get into that in a later date when I have more time to play it. What we learned today is that Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is the best Legend of Zelda game. Plain and simple. That is a fact. So, there you go. You learn a new thing every day, don't you? And last but not least, I have more Super Nintendo games. I just don't have them right now. But my favorite of an entire series, which is like 40 games long or something at this point. I think everyone's lost count. But Final Fantasy III. Now, I know, and you can point this out all you want, but I know that some places it's Final Fantasy VI, but it's Final Fantasy III to me, and if you say otherwise, you're just wrong. Personally, my favorite, the only one that I've liked of the series, and yes, that does include Final Fantasy VII. No, I am not interested in the remake, and honestly, I didn't really care for any of the other ones. But number 3 is the best Final Fantasy. Another statement of mine that I know is right because I said it. It has an opera scene. I mean, how can you not love that? And I know in Final Fantasy VII you can dress as a girl or whatever, but I mean, so? Still. Hungry Gorilla, I hope you had a good time looking through my gaming collection. I will be sure to point out more of them in the future as soon as I find them. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed this little spin-off segment, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good day.